Hello, this is Barry from Blanchardstown Library, part of the Fingal network of libraries, and I'm back with another interview. Now, some of you may have seen my last interviews with actress Eilish O'Carroll and local Fingal resident Finbar O'Carroll, and as you might have noticed, they're both related to me, Eilish being my aunt and Finbar being my dad. Those videos were really popular, so I've decided to make this into a series called Ordinary People with Extraordinary Stories, and we want to have over the next few weeks some conversations with different Fingal residents from different walks of life and hear their stories, because often it's the ordinary people in our lives who have some fantastic stories. And for this particular interview, I'm joined by Beverly Joseph. Now, some of you may know Beverly already. She was the winner of the Europe Direct Soapbox competition at Blanchardstown Library, and not only that, she went on then to win the national competition. And Beverly has a fantastic backstory. She is a social media guru, a YouTuber, a radio host, and most recently a children's author. So Beverly, thank you for joining me.
Well, thank you for having me, Barry. I'm delighted to be here, and that was such a kind introduction. So thank you for that.
Not
thank
at all.
Thank you for your kind words.
Not at all. I'm just glad I didn't have to record it again. But anyway, first of all, before I start, can I just say I love your background there?
Yes, absolutely. I had to pay homage to good old Blanchardstown Library. So
yeah. So since we can't actually be in the branch, this is the next best thing. So that's fantastic. So I'm going to start off actually with what I've already mentioned, the Europe Direct Soapbox competition. You won the national competition. What was that like for you?
It was amazing. I'm sure you remember it well, Barry. So fortunately, Barry was with us. He was very present at the day. And yeah, it was an interesting experience. So I'm quite a visual learner, so I take things in. So I remember everything down to the very extraordinary looking building. It is quite a wonderful building. The College of Preceptors, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
And that's where the national competition in Dublin, in the city centre, was held, and we had basically folks from all across the land, if you will, and an interesting range of ages as well. And so I won for the over 18 category, but then we had an under 18 category too, and they were phenomenal. Such intelligent and very well informed young people, I would say. But yes, so it was great. The atmosphere was great. We had so many different people from so many different walks of life. We had farmers, we had we had senior citizens as well, I believe, a few of those. Really interesting backgrounds and different ethnicities as well. So all Irish, but really you could see, the heritage as well. So it was really fun, and the building is just amazing. It's full of this beautiful architecture and these important statues of I suppose doctors of old, if you will.
Yeah.
And yeah, it was great. I remember it very vividly. And I remember you were sitting at the front, I think, with my mum and dad, who were also there at the time. And I think when they announced my name, they had each other, and then I think they probably hugged you after that. So that was great. And it was funny for me because, to be honest, I didn't, because you're so busy and it all happens really fast. So I didn't realize they were going to announce the runners up first. So I saw that as the actual announcement of the winner. Okay. So when they didn't say my name, I was like, oh, okay, well, it was a fun experience. And then I was like, why did the winner not look that happy? And then it kind of clicked, and I was like, oh, okay, that's why that was the runner-up. So yes, okay. It was a great experience, and it was great to be able to represent good old Fingal. So yeah, that was the blessing. And who else?
We were definitely very proud. I think that's the first time we've ever had a national winner. And I'll just remind people that the topic was climate change, not my problem. And Beverly gave an absolutely fantastic presentation. And I can tell you now that when you won the regional heat, and I discussed this with Siobhan Walsh, who's the manager of the Europe Direct Centre at Blanchardstown Library, I actually said, do you know what? I think this year we have a winner. I think this year we're in with a shout. And we were right. And you went and won the national. Now, I know under normal circumstances you'd have been heading off to Brussels to visit the Parliament.
Yeah.
And then this little thing called coronavirus happened in the meantime. So will that be reorganised, do you know?
Yes, it has been. So at the moment there are talks for, I believe it is it spring? I think there are talks for spring, but we'll see where things are at the time. But yes, it's been postponed, and thinking about spring, but when we cross that bridge, I think probably around winter time we'll be in a better position to judge that.
We'll keep our fingers. We'll keep our fingers crossed.
Don't mind. Who else joined us? Yeah, absolutely.
And
who else?
Yes, go on.
No, it's okay. Go ahead. I think there was a bit of a time lapse
There is a little bit of a delay there, all right. Yeah, and I'm getting a message now saying my internet connection is unstable. So the joys of doing all these online interviews, as you well know, because that's going to lead me to our next question. Before I ask you a little bit about you and your background, I mean, speaking in public is not that new to you, because you are a radio host as well, aren't you?
Yes, absolutely. I am indeed, and thank you for mentioning that. I basically really enjoy talking to people, interesting people like yourself, Barry. And I think I've been that way. I think if somebody's an extrovert, they usually are from their childhood. So I think I'm quite a people person, and I just enjoy talking, to be fair, and listening, having conversations. So yes, the radio, that started over 2 years ago, I think now, and that's with UCB. So check that out, ucbireland.ie, and I host a Saturday evening show and a Sunday brunch time show as well. And it's great because my favourite part of it is getting mail from our listeners and just, hearing about the impact it's making. So it's a Christian radio station, and we try to keep it positive and encourage people. There's great contemporary music as well that we play, and I try to keep it just light and interesting. And somebody mentioned a joke that I'd said the other day. So things like jokes, trivia questions, and just being informative and keeping it light. So yes.
Excellent. And I mean, obviously that's absolutely fantastic. And you also, I mentioned social media at the beginning of this, and you are a YouTuber, aren't you?
I am, indeed I am. So guys, yes, if you want to find out more about my channel, check it out. I'm not sure if Barry, are you going to be linking that in?
I can do that, yeah. I can put a link at the bottom. So do you want to just tell us now what it's at? Or?
Yeah, absolutely. I've actually started a similar series called Lockdown Lowdown during lockdown. And that's what's running at the moment. So I've really enjoyed that. And they've just been really interesting personalities from all over the world. We had, so the last episode that we had, we were joined by Gianna Simone, who's a wonderful Hollywood actress, and she's a great activist as well for human rights and also for animal rights, and she has such an inspiring story. So that was really great. And then we had the Bello sisters, who are contestants on America's Got Talent this year, and they're just an incredible acrobatic trio. They're sisters as well, and currently they're through to the semi-finals, so fingers crossed they get through to the finals because they really deserve it. And so many other interesting sort of singers, songwriters, artists as well. So I've been enjoying that during lockdown. They say when life gives lemons, make lemonade.
Absolutely. And tell me, Can I ask
when COVID-19 gave us lockdown, I decided to make the series.
And you've mentioned some really interesting people you speak to. How do you make contact with these people? How do you get them to?
That's a really good question. So a few of them are friends that I know well from before. So for instance, I had our station manager and also the CEO of UCB Ireland, Robbie, and that was a really great story. He's Irish, born and bred, but then he spent some time in the UK as well. And he has such an interesting story, and he spoke about radio as well, because I think he started when he was 19, and so he's been doing it a long time. And then another really good friend of mine, Catherine Prowse, she's an artist. So, I sort of naturally thought of them, but the others are sort of people connected with over social media. And I reached out to them, and they were very kind to join me with the episode.
Fantastic. That's really brilliant. And you mentioned there your colleague Robbie spending time in the UK, and you yourself actually grew up in the UK, isn't that right? And if I remember correctly, your parents are from two different countries, isn't that right? Could you maybe
They are very well remembered. Yes, absolutely. You're quite right. I did grow up in the UK, as you may have noticed from my accent, but I don't know, I feel like I'm getting a bit of an Irish twang now. And so we've been here a good 7 or 8 years now. And yes, so my mother, the mum, she is Pakistani, and so I'm half Pakistani, Punjabi to be exact. And my father, my dad, he is Sri Lankan. So yes, it's an interesting mix, and I was a year old when we moved to the UK. So.
And
yes.
where had you lived before the UK?
Yeah, so I was born in Pakistan.
Okay.
And that's where that's where my mum and dad met and got married. And yes, so they had my older brother, and then they had me, and then we moved to the UK. So I find that really it's really helpful, and I think that's part of the reason why I enjoy having conversations with different people, because different languages, different backgrounds have always been something that's been celebrated in our family. So, and you're quite similar yourself, Barry. I know that. Your wife, of course, is French.
Yeah.
You speak French as well, which is interesting because my dad speaks Urdu. So yeah, I'm sure you know all about that.
Absolutely, and I have a little boy who's just climbing all over the couch right beside me here, and it's wonderful because he speaks French and English now, and I always remember as a kid, even in school, any of the people in our class that had two different cultures, we were always quite jealous of them because they had another country to go to, and it just seemed so interesting. And what the lovely thing is now, that's so much more common. And in Fingal we have a great mix of people, and that's what's wonderful about working in the library, because you get to meet people from absolutely all over the world. And we have a lot of couples in the library where one is Irish and one could be from Poland or France or Pakistan or anywhere, or two completely different countries. So it's really interesting. You're right, absolutely. And just speaking about the library, and again we mentioned the lovely background you have there, and what do you enjoy most about your visits to the library? I know you're a regular.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's just the wealth of information that you can pick up, and as you can tell from the background, so I'm at home at the moment, but as we picked on it, this is my homage to the library, but we're blessed with a really great library in Blanchardstown, and what I like about it is it's very central as well, so it's a great meeting point. So if you're meeting friends in town, or often, after work, I might meet my parents there, who also use the library quite frequently. So what I like about it is, for me, when I'm there and I'm sort of waiting to meet someone, it's a great place for me to sort of catch up on things. And especially we have such a great wealth of magazines as well, and I think they're always updated to like the most recent issue. And true story, I was in the library, and this was before lockdown happened, and I was sort of just waiting and I went towards the magazines and I saw British Vogue there, and I noticed Naomi Scott was on it. And I was just so thrilled and delighted because Naomi Scott went to the same secondary school as myself. It was just really great seeing her on it. And that's life, isn't it?
Absolutely.
So you're moving along a regular day and then you see something like that. So for me, it's the fact that you can drop in any time. It's very settled and you can catch up on all the latest information.
Absolutely. And of course, it's all free. That's the best thing about it, isn't it?
Exactly.
And now, speaking about libraries and books, I want to get to a very important thing. This here is a book called Ernest and the Prince of Peace, and this is written by Beverly. You published this in the last few weeks. Beautiful children's book that I have read with my little boy, and he loved it. It's a lovely story full of adventure, and it's got witches and dragons and all sorts of great things happening in it. I don't want to say too much. So could you tell me a little bit where the idea for the book came from?
Yeah, certainly. Oh, thank you, Barry. That was very kind. So the idea actually came from telling stories or trying to tell stories to my little cousins. They're older now, so they're 9 and 7. But some years ago, they kept prodding me one day, like, tell us a story, as children often do. And I was like, so I tried to I often used to make up stories on the spot, but one particular day I made up a story and I was like, I think with a bit of work, this could actually be a good story. And I told my mum as well, and as you know, Barry, all good ideas often come from mum, like taking part in the competition, the Soapbox competition. So she was like, you should write it down. And I was like, okay. So I did. I typed it out on my laptop, and as you do, I kind of just forgot about it. And sometime later, at a work fair, so they were selling different things, and I came across the book, and it was a children's book, and I remember just reading it and thinking, I remember my story, and I wonder, should I look into publishing a little bit more, because I think it could have quite a good chance. And then I started looking at publishing and how do you get into this, and just approaching different publishers, and I did. And thank God I got a really good offer. So that's how that came about.
That's fantastic. And there's lovely illustrations in it. Who did the illustrations?
Absolutely. Yeah, so the publishers did the illustration. Okay. Thank you. Yeah, they were so good. So Olympia are the publishers, and they've been really good at managing everything. And they used to send me, so basically they asked me to kind of tell them where I wanted the pictures and sort of give an outline of what I'd like the picture to be, which I did. And then they had their own artist on the job. So yeah, really, really great job.
Brilliant. And obviously you've very kindly sent me a copy for the library, which my wife will be bringing in shortly, and we'll get it into the collection. But if people want their own copy of this, how can they go about that?
Absolutely. So it's available on Amazon, and so you can buy it on amazon.co.uk, Ernest and the Prince of Peace. It's available in paperback, and also if you don't want to wait around for the post, there's a very nice Kindle edition as well. And so that would be probably the easiest way to find it, or easiest place to find it. But I know it's also available in Waterstones as well.
Okay, so that's just to remind everybody, that's Ernest and the Prince of Peace, and written by Blanchardstown Library's very own Beverly Joseph. So it's really lovely to see one of our library users now actually writing one of the books that we have available there. So it's fantastic. So congratulations on that. And how's it going so far?
It's going really well. Thanks for asking. So it's picked up quite a bit of media attention as well. There was an article in the Mead Chronicle just this week gone about it, which was really nice. And yeah, it was sold out on Amazon for a little while. So I think they've replenished their stocks now. So it's going well. So thank God. And yeah, I think that's a good testament. So if you guys are looking at, how to judge whether you should look into it. Yeah, I'd point that out to you. But it's done well on Amazon.
Absolutely, and anyone else watching this video who's ever thought of doing the same, here's the inspiration for you. Don't be afraid, and often the times we're living in at the moment is maybe a great time to work on that project that you've been putting away for a long time, and you're a great example of it.
Absolutely, Barry. I couldn't agree with you more. In fact, so at the moment I'm working from home because, of the lockdown, and thank God we have good technology to be able to do that. But before lockdown, I was talking to a colleague of mine, and she was telling me how she really likes writing. And I was encouraging her to put her ideas down and write something, because, you never know where it might lead. And why not go for it? We only have one life, so why not do as much as we can in it? So certainly, if you've got an idea, if you're thinking, this could be a good story, or even a poem, whatever it might be, write it down and take advantage of this time.
Absolutely. I've been encouraging my dad to do the same, because after his interview he had these incredibly funny stories about growing up in Stoneybatter and Finglas, and I said more people should hear these stories, so he's now started writing them down, so it's great to see people doing that. And just before we kind of finish up, you're going to be recording a little video for us, aren't you, of a reading from the book. So I'm going to this interview is going to go out on Thursday evening, and we'll put that out. So that's tomorrow for anyone who's watching it on Thursday evening. On Friday morning, I'll put that up on the Fingal Library's Facebook, YouTube accounts. We'll link to it on Twitter as well, Instagram. So you'll be able to get a bit of a taste of Beverly's book then. So Beverly, thank you so much for speaking to me. It's been really really interesting. And hopefully maybe when things settle down, we might be able to get you into the library to do a live event with your book.
I would love that, and thanks for having me, Barry. It's been a pleasure.
Absolutely. Okay, we'll talk again soon. Bye bye, Beverly.
Bye, take care.